Hello everybody, welcome back to episode QR of Lemon's Alphabet Advent Calendar. You would think that there's not a whole lot to talk about, but I will say that you can't really discredit Q and R too much. Obviously you can't give it too much credit either, looking at the length of this video. But yeah, I think that, you know, there's not a whole lot of options for Q, man. I'm just gonna be honest. It's Quake. Quake is like one of the granddaddies of first-person shooters. You know, honestly, the competitions between Quake and Quiplash is great, but I think that if I was on a deserted island and I had, you know, Quiplash or just Quake, I think Quake is infinitely more replayable. Specifically, Quake mods is what I've kind of found myself getting into. This is specifically the original, like, not the original, but like the remake of the original. It came to like modern platforms. It's got the retro graphics. It's got the sounds. It has updates, HD, like high quality textures. I think that they added, well, actually, they added like the multiplayer browser being like super good in that you can actually find like games to play multiplayer with people in Quake in 2024 over like 30 years since the game has been out. That's kind of maddening, pretty crazy. I don't know if it's 25, okay, apparently 25 years later, but nevertheless, I think Quake is a game that everyone should play. I've been wanting to make mods for Quake, but I don't think that if I made a mod, I don't think anybody that I would know that wouldn't be directly at my computer would be able to play them, because nobody else has Quake, which I think is really a detriment to yourself. I think that if you haven't played Quake, it's definitely something that I think everyone should play at least once. It's like one of those sorts of situations. And again, there's not really a lot of competition with Q, so yay on that front. So yeah, you thought the Q episode was not gonna be this long? Next up, we're gonna be hitting up our R letter. And we have a few games, not a whole lot, but we're just going to start off with our honorable mentions. First one being Red Matter. There is a sequel to this one, Red Matter 2. I haven't really played that one nearly as much, but I would definitely say that Red Matter is a very nice, immersive game, especially towards the start. There are some parts near like the end where things are a little bit more abstract, but it's basically a first-person puzzle game in VR, which I think is really awesome and has that kind of storytelling where it's like an old Soviet little facility, and you're like using your little hands to manipulate all of the different objects and watching like people's videos that's in their rooms and stuff like that. And I think, you know, it's no Half-Life Alyx for sure, but if you're wanting like a similar sort of vibe without maybe as much as the polish, Red Matter, at least the first one, I can say is one of those like core VR titles you should play. I think Red Matter 2 came out like last year, or maybe even 2022, and I haven't been able to get around to it yet. I'm sure it would probably just be more of the original, but I definitely would say that Red Matter deserves an honorable mention. Another probably underrated game would be Rounds. So this is an interesting one. This is my attempt again of finding a good local multiplayer game for like the Steam Deck, which is a little bit fleeting, right? I mean, there's not a whole lot of developers that have put like local oriented games, or like almost exclusively local oriented games. Not as much of like a Nintendo console, right? So Rounds is a fun experience, and definitely the few times that I played it with other people, it's been like a little nice experiment. Not a whole lot more beyond that, but it's usually a pretty cheap game. I know that the winter sale is going on right now. I think it's only like $3, so I think it's incredible value. I think even just a few matches for $3 and both people can buy in. It's a roguelike, so they're in here. They're in here in spades. I like really love that genre, I guess, man. Another really good one would be Risk of Rain Returns. So Risk of Rain Returns, I think is a newer title, or maybe it came out last year, but again, Steam Deck kind of wanted to just be able to play Risk of Rain on the go the right way. Has all those sick HD graphics and things like that. Has an overhauled like multiplayer system. It has some systems from like Risk of Rain 2, which a lot of people really played. I think that this is a really well-made, it's basically a remake of the original Risk of Rain. The animations and the way that everything feels is just so much better. The quality of life that has been added to this version of the game in particular is off the charts. They added little character missions, which I also thought was a lot of fun. Things are just a little bit more transparent and just more streamlined in general. Definitely, if you would play the original Risk of Rain, or even if you like Risk of Rain 2, and you are interested in like the side scroller like OG of the first one, then I think that it's a pretty easy recommendation. Would be Risk of Rain Returns. Last is our winner, which is going to be another platform fighter. They're coming just like the roguelikes, but this one in particular I think has done something pretty incredible, and that would be Rivals of Aether 2. Yes, I was a big person playing Rivals of Aether 1. I played it a lot in like early access. Kind of let it go after a bit of time, mainly just because the game's really hard, and at that time it didn't have really good netcode. But they actually went back and they added rollback netcode, which if you're not very familiar with, is a pretty hard thing to do, and it's also very, very beneficial to the online experience where you can like feel like they're actually sitting next to you. Rivals of Aether 2 is definitely prioritizing creating like skilled players first, so they release like the bare bones experience, and they're gonna tweak things obviously, but there's not a whole lot in terms of single player. I think the arcade mode barely got squeaked out, and it's pretty decent, but it definitely has some rough around the edges parts. There's some characters that were in the first one that are a little bit of question marks, but there's plenty of variety, especially with the new characters that they added to Rivals 2 that, there's like raving, glowing reviews almost everywhere for Rivals 2. I definitely say if you're interested in platform fighters, like, no, actually, this is probably the best one of the year. In terms of overall, like, feeling and sense, obviously, they're animal characters, which tends to attract a certain crowd. I don't think if you like playing Rivals of Aether 2, it doesn't make you a furry. You're safe with me. Just the ways that they play around with the formula, and just the way that it seems to make the fast movement of something like Melee easier and more accessible for more people to do is a pretty big deal. A lot of people that play Melee really like Rivals 2. That is to say, again, there's no telling how long this like honeymoon grace period will last. They seem to be releasing a good amount of content. As I'm recording this, Italis was announced, who was like the polar bear character. He was one of the first characters added. I don't think again, early access are only like 6 characters, so he was a pretty early addition and pretty much a staple. But yeah, I would definitely say that Rivals of Aether 2 deserves to be our game of the year. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. I will see you for the ST episode. That one hurt to make. So that's going to be a longer one, and it's going to be good. So yeah.